Prime Minister Dahal has called for maintaining social unity and peace. Now, in this edition of Kantipur News, we also have updates about a shooting driven by racist hatred and updates about Pakistan's whitewash over Afghanistan in the One Day International Series. Good morning, I'm Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Life gets back to normal as prohibitory orders lifted in Dhahran. Prime Minister Dahal calls for unity in the society. Hearing on the rape case against cricketer Sandeep Lamichhane is slated for today. Regular hearing to be held if additional evidences are not asked for. Israelis opposed to the government's planned judicial overhaul continue their protest in thousands with the 34th consecutive week of demonstrations. Say the changes would significantly curtail the powers of the highest court. And Manchester United come from behind to seal a dramatic win against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. Newcastle United take on Liverpool tonight. A landslide has swept 4 houses in Olitar of Bigu Rural Municipality, Ward number 3 of Dolakha. According to local resident Kumar Khadka, the landslide, triggered by incessant rainfall, swept away 4 houses last night. Members of the houses that had been swept away escaped and managed to save their lives. Meanwhile, cattle and grains have been buried by the debris. Roads connecting various wards of Gauri Shankar and Bigu Rural Municipality have been obstructed after the landslide swept away the road section in Lamabogar, Upper Tamakoshi in the northern part of Singati. The prohibitory orders imposed in Dhahran have been lifted from last midnight. With the removal of the prohibitory orders, human movement has resumed in the Dhahran market area, while vehicular movement has also come into operation. Several organizations have also called for social unity. The local administration had imposed the prohibitory orders for a period of 24 hours after the wake of religious, communal and health crisis in recent time. The rally of Hindu organizations, which was previously set to be held in Dhahran, was shifted to Panipiya of Ithari because of the prohibitory orders in Dhahran. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dahal has called for social unity. Issuing an appeal in relation to the situation in Dhahran, Prime Minister Dahal has urged everyone to refrain from activities hurting the social unity. Reminding of the significant role of political parties, social organizations and religious communities in addressing differences through dialogue, Prime Minister Dahal urged all the Dhahran residents in particular alongside the entire country to help address the problem. He further went on to add that the responsibility of ensuring national development could only be carried out with religious and social harmony. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse. College.
The question is, why have political parties not given priority to the problems of the public? Your options are A, lack of responsibility, B, election-oriented nature, and C, not enough public pressure. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. A hearing on the case against cricketer Sandeep Lamichhane, who is alleged of raping a minor, is slated for today. The final hearing on the rape case against Sandeep Lamichhane at the Kathmandu District Court was previously postponed on several occasions. The District Court has scheduled the hearing for today. If additional evidences are not required, regular hearings are to be held from today onwards. Lamichhane has made preparations to leave for Pakistan tonight itself for the Asia Cup, which begins on Wednesday if he is cleared by the court or if the case is not concluded today. A minor of 17 years had reached the Gosala police office to report the case on the 6th of September last year, alleging Sandeep Lamichhane of raping her at a hotel in Kathmandu. She has been admitted at a hospital since Saturday. It has been understood that she was taken to the hospital after consuming more than required quantity of medicine that she has been taking. It is now time for the international news. Israelis opposed to the government's planned judicial overhaul keep coming to protest in their thousands in Tel Aviv, the 34th consecutive week of demonstrations, saying the proposed changes would significantly curtail the powers of the highest court. The government's plan has sown divisions among the Israeli public and even within the military, long viewed as a political melting pot for a fractious society, with concerns about war readiness voiced on both sides of the debate. Supporters of the legislation argue that it reinstates balance to the government branches, while critics say that it removes checks and balances on the government powers. Israel's Supreme Court began hearing on the 3rd of August, the first in a series of appeals linked to a judicial overhaul undertaken by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his hard-right coalition, which has set off an unprecedented domestic crisis. Increasing countries are protesting against Japan for dumping nuclear-polluted water into the ocean, which has triggered worldwide concerns and opposition for posing risks to the marine ecosystem. Japan's reckless release of nuclear-contaminated water from the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean on Thursday breached international rules and obligations, the protesters have said. In South Korea, over 10,000 protesters gathered in downtown Seoul on Saturday afternoon as the country's main opposition, Minjo Party, held a rally condemning Japan's discharge. Participants voiced anxiety over contamination reaching Korea's shores. Meanwhile, hundreds marched in Fiji's capital Suva, strongly protesting the Japanese government's Fukushima nuclear contaminated water release, while urging the international community to act and prevent long-term damage to the Pacific and future generations. Chinese President Xi Jinping's keynote speech at the China-Africa Leaders Dialogue in Johannesburg, in which he called for cooperation toward an open and inclusive world economy, received widespread support from politicians and scholars across Africa. Xi's fourth state visit to South Africa came alongside the 15th BRICS summit, which was also held in Johannesburg. It was his 10th visit to the African continent. Political leaders and diplomats from African countries spoke highly of Xi's visit and lauded the message he put forth in his speech. Scholars from various African countries also echoed President Xi's speech, stressing that the major measures proposed by President Xi can help Africa's infrastructure development and modernization. Nasir Bushiva, chairperson of the Moroccan Africa-China Cooperation Association for Development, highlighted the initiative to support Africa's industrialization and said that under the guidance of the initiative, his association will work to promote accelerated industrialization in the African nations. Dennis Munini Mwanki, executive director of the China-Africa Center at Africa Policy Institute in Kenya, warmly welcomed the China-Africa Talent Training Cooperation Plan proposed by President Xi. Now, thousands of Americans commemorated the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, a pivotal event in the 1960s U.S. civil rights movement, at which Martin Luther King Jr. gave his galvanizing "I Have a Dream" speech. Speakers at the event included civil rights leaders such as King's son, Martin Luther King III, his granddaughter, Yolanda King, and civil rights leader, Reverend Al Sharpton. The 1963 march brought more than 250,000 people to the nation's capital to push for an end to discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Many credit the show of strength with the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This year's rally took place at the Lincoln Memorial, as many speakers warned that much work has yet to be done. On the banks of the Meta River, where Colombia meets Venezuela, tiny olive green baby turtles were waiting in makeshift plastic tubs to be let free. The release of 1,200 baby turtles marks the final stage of a conservation project, which, according to its leader, Ruth Bustos, has already seen 3,150 turtles reinserted into the wild waters of a tributary of the Orinoco, one of South America's longest rivers. Volunteers from Colombia's Navy and National Army cradled the tiny terraque, or yellow-spotted river turtles, in their hands and gently lowered them into the grassy shallows. Carolina Pinzon, second commander at the city's Coast Guard station, said the project, which is operated for more than 10 years, is aimed at protecting the region's freshwater turtles from illegal trade and natural predators. And now, before we wrap up, here's a look into the top stories one more time. Life gets back to normal as prohibitory orders lifted in Dharan. Prime Minister Dahal calls for unity in the society. Hearing on the rape case against cricketer Sandeep Lamichhane is slated for today. Regular hearing to be held if additional evidences are not asked for. Israelis opposed to the government's planned judicial overhaul continue their protest in thousands with the 34th consecutive week of demonstrations, say the changes would significantly curtail the powers of High Court. And Manchester United come back from behind to seal a dramatic win against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. Newcastle United take on Liverpool tonight. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin is at 6 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. Have a beautiful day ahead.